Hey guys, so you need to turn to this page in your labs that I handed out. And first thing I'm going to give you is your experimental question, which is do the bubbles travel at a constant speed? That's the question that we're trying to answer in doing this experiment. So your independent variable, as I said in an earlier video, is always going to be time. And in this experiment, we're actually going to measure time in clicks. We're going to have a metronome, if any of you know what that is, that every certain amount of time, it's just going to click. You're just going to hear it. It's going to go. So we're going to measure our time in clicks instead of seconds. And then our dependent variable, what we're going to be measuring is the actual distance between our marks. So distance or position in centimeters, you want to measure everything in centimeters, is going to be our dependent variable. I'm going to let you guys try to think of some constants in this experiment, and if you can't think of them before you start, after you're done, come back here and see the things that were the same the whole time. For your hypothesis, I'm going to fill in part of it, and I want you to finish. So this is part of your hypothesis, and I want you to fill in the blank, however much it takes you, and make sure you put a period at the end. Your materials list is actually, if you flip the page over, your materials are actually right up here. So you can copy that over to this page. You can go ahead and do that. As far as the procedure, the first thing that I want you to see is this right here. This is the first thing that you're going to do. You're going to actually take a piece of masking tape, tape it onto the tube, and that's what you're going to mark on so that you're very close to the bubble when you're making your marks. When you're done making your marks, you're going to take the tape and stick it to your table for you to measure later. So your procedure, I'm just going to write some simple steps. So after you have taped the tube, you are going to flip the tube. Then you're going to make marks at every click that you hear, because that metronome is going to be making those clicks this whole time. So every time you hear a click, you're going to make a mark on the piece of tape with your marker. And you can mark the bottom of the bubble, which is what I would do, or you can mark the top of the bubble. It does not matter. You pick one and you stick with it the whole time. And so once you've made your marks, you should stick your tape back onto the table like it says up here. So you're going to, once you've stuck your tape back on the table, you are going to measure the distance from the start to each click mark, and I mean from the start. So we'll say that your tape winds up looking like this, okay? So this is going to turn into your 0 mark, okay, your starting point. So you're going to measure from here to here to get your first measurement. You're going to measure from here to here to get your second. From here to here to get your third. So every single time you measure, you're going to measure from the starting point. Then last but not least, make sure you record your data. And I will show you what your data table should look like. Okay? Your data table should look like what I have written down here, so make sure that you have that ready to go when you want to get into the lab. Now, just to make sure that everybody's clear on what needs to be done when you get to the lab, we'll say that this is the first tube that you're going to do. The first thing that you would do is add your masking tape the length of the tube. So you'd put your masking tape along here like this. The next thing that you would do is, of course, to flip the tube. Now that the tube has been flipped, every time you hear a click, which will be going on in the room, you're going to mark where the bottom of the bubble is. I suggest the bottom of the bubble. So you're going to hear click, 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 click. So every time that you hear that click, you're going to make a mark where the bottom of the bubble is on the tape. And it may take a couple practice runs to get it right, which is fine. So at that point, you are going to take the tape off of the tube and stick it to your table. And so you'll have your marks all laid out here. So then you're going to take your meter stick and do your measurements. So now we'll say that you're ready to do your measurements. This is your tape. This is what it looks like. You're going to go ahead and mark this as your 0 point, your first mark, your first clear mark, your first good one. And then you're going to measure every time in centimeters from that 0 mark. So your first measurement is going to be from here to here. Second one is from here to here. Third one from there to there, and so on. Every time you measure from here. Very important. And then write down your measurements in centimeters in your data table. Okay? There's going to be a brief quiz about the information I've just given you when we come back, so make sure that you know what you're doing.